But then if it's like, this is really important to me and I need you, I'm your helper, and I really need you to hear me on this. But if I'm not doing that about everything, he has ears to hear. And then he respects me and, wants to hear what I have to say. And for me personally, I always say, you don't have to listen, this is just what I think. And I think you would do well to listen to me on this, but I trust you and God's leading in your life. And that's, again, a spiritual muscle you have to build with time as part of that sanctification of.
I love what you said, that it comes down to really trusting God, not just trusting your husband. Because the question I'm sure you've gotten a lot as being a pastor's wife is, well, what if my husband does this? Or what if he doesn't do this? Or what if he's like this? I can't possibly respect that or submit to that or follow that. But what you're saying, which is very convicting for all of us, is that it's really not mostly about your husband and what he's doing on a day-to-day basis. It's really about whether or not you trust God.
That's right.
And the example of Abraham is a perfect one because he had his issues.
He did. And then Sarah, and I love that passage though, just to reiterate how it says, she hoped in God. She was not frightened by any fear. Think about her. If we just take a step back and think, she's in a harem. She could be mistreated, but God didn't let him touch her. It's just like, God took care of her and then dealt with Abraham.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, it's like, there's so many times in decisions over the years, it's like, I am frightened by a lot of fears. And the fears, sometimes it might be in leadership or the way what my husband's deciding or which direction he's going. But if my hope is in God, then I trust the authority that he's placed over me. And there's nothing wrong with calling our husbands our authority. I know women don't like that, but I'm just saying every place there's, my husband always says, if there's two heads, it's a monster. If there's no head, it's dead. So, anyway.
No, that's a really good picture. I mean, if there's two leaders, it's chaos.
Yeah.
I mean, it's even like a company. Whenever I see, this company is transitioning to have co-CEOs, I'm like, it's not going to last long.
Exactly.
It's just
That's
not.
right.
But even more so in a family,
That's
because
right.
you've got so many intimate things that you are dealing with and deciding and all of that. So you're absolutely right. I'm curious about your life as a pastor's wife. So after y'all got married, he was already in the ministry, but when did he become a pastor?
Well, when we first got married, we were still on staff with Crusade. We went to Duke University and worked there for 5 years with Campus Crusade. And that's our children began to be born in Durham. We have 5 children. And then during those 5 years, he just really sensed he wanted to go to seminary and be a pastor. And so he did go to seminary. So we were there at Duke 5 years, and then we moved and came to Dallas, and he went to Dallas DTS, which, sad to say again,
Another institution.
And it's sad. It makes me sad. It makes him sad.
Yes.
And he used to
totally know how that feels.
Yeah, and he gets on the phone. He's not passive.
Yeah.
So,
it's not going down without a fight.
No, that's right. That's right. But he went there, and so we were in Dallas for 5 years. And then while we were in Dallas, he served as pastor of evangelism at Lake Point Church in Rockwall. And in fact, he was one of the elders there. The first time they had elders they were moving towards an elder form of government. And he was one of the elders there with Steve Stroop, who was the former pastor there. And so he was there, and it was while there that, he was beginning to have his resumes to be a pastor. And he could have. There was a church in Richardson that had was seeking him, but this church in Beaufort sought him, and it was just through those steps we went to Beaufort. It's been great, yeah.
And made it back to North Carolina. So what has it been like being a pastor's wife? I guess it looks different for different kinds of people and the different giftings that God gives someone, but you have taken on a role of teaching women and discipleship for women. So how did that come about?
Well, it came about when we first got to Beaufort. It was a small church, didn't have a building. And I guess because of a new pastor, some of the women who had been doing things were kind of like resigning. They were having, I don't know what all they had at that point, but they wanted me to teach a Bible study. I had 4 little children at that time, and I was a trained leader with Precept. And so I did one Bible study in the evenings, but I it was like halfway through that Bible study, I realized this is not the right season for me to be leaving my home at night. And so I finished
It's
it.
hard.
It's hard.
Yes.
And I finished it, completed it, but then I thought I'm not going to do this.
Yeah.
But I wanted to use my gifts in the body. So I was teaching children's Sunday school classes. And by the way, I will say this, teaching children's Sunday school classes is how I learned the Bible even more because I took it seriously.
Yeah.
And I learned so much teaching children's Sunday school classes. But lay that aside, that's what I was doing. We had a lot of young families coming to the church. It was growing by conversion. And then some of the younger families, now my children were young, like maybe 12 and under. Jameson was not born yet. He's my baby. He wasn't born yet. But some of them were asking me if I would teach a mothering Bible. So just share what you're doing.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, I could do that. It's my season of life. And so then I did it in my home, and it was like I opened it up, and it was just because, again, we didn't have a building, but it just exploded in the sense that, whoa. I mean, women were sitting around on the stairs. It was just like a need. And all I was doing was typing up. In fact, some of the early women who are still in our church, they said, I still have the handouts,